Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. I thank you for joining us today. I have a special guest who's coming from Europe. We had slight technical difficulty starting up this morning, but I appreciate her bearing with me and sticking with the show today. So today we're going to be talking about Afghanistan. It's a country that I've personally been to. I've spent 2 years in that country. I know a lot about it, and I know a lot about the problems that are happening there. Also know about some of the problems with mass immigration, and we've seen some of the problems that it's caused here in the US and abroad. Before we get started, I just wanted to say we have a giveaway today. Bowtide Scents donated some candles today in the spirit of Christmas. So we're going to give away 2 candles to a likely viewer or a viewer today that both subscribes to my YouTube and Rumble and also leaves a comment today. So I'll send you that free and clear. We will pick a winner later today. But without further ado, so we're talking to a young lady that I met in Spaces on X, very well spoken, from Afghanistan, talks adamantly about the problems that she has seen there and has begun some work in order to try and solve the problems within that country. She lives in Europe now, but the war in Afghanistan, like I said, I've been there. I spent 2 years in the country, but it lasted from October 2001 to October or August 2021, almost 20 years, so 2 months short of 20 years. It cost the U.S. $2.3 trillion. There were 2,456 military casualties there, 3,900 contractors, 20,000 wounded. And in terms of like foreign occupations, it originally occupation of Afghanistan started in the 1950s with the Soviets. I actually lived in one of their hangars that they built. But I have a fantastic guest here today, very well spoken. Without further ado, I want to welcome her to the stage. So, welcome to the stage, and thank you for coming and joining us today.
Thank you so much, Jay. You have been saying twice well spoken, but today with my sour throat and the fact that we couldn't cancel, so I tried my best to speak. I appreciate that you have taken the time to speak with me. Um, Important thing is, I have to say, I have been living all my life in two opposing worlds, actively in two very opposing worlds. And the things that I see, I notice that a lot of people don't understand, don't see it. What is important, I think, for us here in this conversation is to know, are there threats facing Western civilization? Yes, there is. Are there solutions to tackle them? I would say absolutely. If there's the will, there's a way. And I'm hoping that the conversation that we have, that I share some of my experiences, know-how, it will help people, enlighten them to make decisions for themselves and to be informed of what is true, what is the propaganda. And I think the more they have understanding, the better choices they can make. What is key is to save the Western civilization from all the threat that people, a lot of people I see have no idea. So I'm happy to talk about that at the same time.
I appreciate that. And so, before we get started, introduce yourself a little bit to everybody here because there's going to be some people that have never heard from you. And it's, to be honest with you, you hear a lot, especially in American spaces and stuff. You'll hear a lot of veterans talking about Afghanistan. You'll hear men talking about Afghanistan. It's interesting to me to hear a woman talk about Afghanistan. Because I think you have a fantastic view, you have a fantastic grasp of the problems that are there, and now living in Europe or whatever, you can see both sides, and you have a very good view of the problems having lived in both places. And so, please introduce yourself. Say, tell us how you came to be, where you started in Afghanistan to living now in Europe, and then we can get into further discussion.
I'll get to myself, but just to answer the point that you mentioned, there are a lot of men talking about Afghanistan, but you don't see a lot of women. There are plenty of them, particularly from Afghanistan. They speak in Persian, some speak in English and on international platforms. The problem is they only speak about women issues. And I think this is a symptom of a bigger problem. And that is the thing. Like, I do not find, even among the men from that country, I don't find people who understand what is happening, what has happened, and the way out of it. We have amazing people, well educated, well informed, but they're communicating in the native language. And it will take time until these voices will be heard. But until now, all you have is the people who are from outside. They've had experiences in the country, which gives you only a glimpse of that country. Something that Afghanistan taught me, especially hearing it from others, from outsiders, is that you should never assume about a country based on, let's say, 5 years you have lived there as an outsider. You will never come to the same understanding and experience of someone who has lived their life there. That's something that has taught me a lot. Like when I talk about other countries, I have my information. I say this is what I understand, but I never try to say the person who comes from that country. I never try to say they're wrong or they don't know it because they definitely know more than me. As for me, Jay, you understand a little bit, but to summarize it, what I do now, and then I can go back and talk about what I have done in the past, who I am, if it's necessary. I've maybe mentioned this to you before. I have lost my own hometown, my one country, a country of birth, and I was too young to do something about it. I couldn't. But what matters to me is my second home here, Switzerland. And I cannot afford seeing it go down, or in fact, any of the Western countries that have given shelter, peace, security to someone like me. Because what I see is my second home is going down because of kinds of me. Maybe I'm an anomaly. Maybe there are people like me out there, but they're not heard of. They're not speaking up. They're not there to say the truth because when we talk about issues, the threat facing Western civilization, it's not just the terrorist threat. That just happens. People notice it, take action, but it's something that it hooks people. But there are invisible forces, things that are happening that people don't notice, but gradually, sometimes rapidly, over time, if you pay attention to the patterns, you see it is changing the Western civilization. And I don't want these countries to become another Afghanistan. That's just one example of a backward country, but we have plenty of them where immigrants come from. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. As for me, for people that they need to know, so I spent half of my life in Afghanistan. I was pretty old enough to leave the country, so I'm pretty much, I would say, from Afghanistan. I was 17 when I left to South Korea, to the east, went straight to the west. I spent there 3 years studying at the Seoul National University, and the other half of my life, so it has been 3 years in South Korea, and majority of my life have been in Switzerland. I'm married to a Swiss husband, a native, and all this time I've never been detached from my country, from the people, from relatives. But I have consciously chosen to isolate myself, especially in the last almost 15 years that I live in Switzerland. I haven't had any contact with the people, just contact on the surface level, but I don't live with the community. And I'm pretty much with the Swiss natives. There are reasons behind that, but I think those reasons are important that people need to understand why. I wasn't even aware of it, why I was protecting myself, why I was taking distance from my people. But today it's becoming clear that the threat that I have taught the Western society can absorb the people that come from that country, the bad cultures that we bring in. But over time, I see that we haven't been able to absorb it. In fact, those cultures are slowly absorbing the Western culture. And for me, that's a bigger concern than anything else. So these days, aside from what I do professionally, which I a couple of years ago co-founded a company with the main goal of connecting the public with the public sector, with the international institutions, organizations, because I saw them uh, losing trust at the global level, even since 2016. A lot of people in my world did not know what was happening, but I knew the reasons. So I made this company because I understood what it takes for them to connect back with the public, even though if they think our stakeholders are the governments, but it's actually at the end of the day the people. So aside from that, I'm sorry I told you I can't have a conversation more than 10 minutes. Apologies for that, Jay. You
No, no,
chose
you're fine.
this.
You're fine. I appreciate you.
So aside from that, what I do is just taking my own keyboard, online platform, no attachment to any NGO, to any foreign funding, to support even from my government, Switzerland, because I don't want that. I want to prove if someone is living in the West and if they want to do something, they claim to be human rights activists, they claim to be serving the society, they can just do it with a keyboard and their voice. They don't need more support. And my active approach is to actually, I'm helping my home country here. And at the same time, as much as I can, without any resources, giving platform to the voices from Afghanistan, because I believe this country has solution. It's deliberately being ignored by their own politicians, by their own diplomats. There are reasons behind that, but this country has a solution. And I know a lot of the people that have been refugees emigrating from there, they don't feel home in the West. They want to be back. And we need to help these people to return back to their home without us paying the price, paying the cost. Because as you see, we have our own challenges. We cannot anymore spend time, resources on other countries' affairs.
Yeah, and we're we're feeling the effect of that. Obviously, the U. And it's not just countries in the Middle East. It's country like in the past 4 years under Joe Biden, they really opened up the border and they let in people from all over the world. Africa,
Good.
Asia, Middle East. It just there was really no bounds, and we're reeling trying to deal with the impact of that and the problems associated with it and the cost, the astronomical cost that comes with it, which we shouldn't have to bear the burden of it, but now we are because they're here. Um, the other piece that you were touching on is, in terms of like Europe, we've seen a steep decline, especially in the UK,
Hmm.
with their mass migration and the problems that that's caused. We've also seen it in Scandinavian countries, and I haven't heard much of it in Switzerland, but Germany definitely is having really big problems with unvetted migration and just really haphazardly going about this, which is causing problems. So in terms of that, what are your views, and what do you see happening, and what do you think are the solutions? Yeah, send them home or whatever, but like it doesn't seem like the governments want to do that, for the most part, and the U.S. is trying to put the brakes on it, trying to make that happen, but it's like in the UK especially, like it doesn't seem like their current government wants to stop that, and I know that that's not the way the citizens feel, but that's just what we're seeing.
Look, step by step. UK is a unique case because of the colonial past. And that's one big reason why their politicians, they're scared to talk about their mistakes. There's something I always say, anything built on injustices, lies, mistakes, it's a time limit. It will collapse. And the sad thing is, those bad policies taken by the politicians in the past not only ruined the lives of normal people in the countries that they holding power, but now their grandchildren are paying the price. That's what we see in the UK. And as for like Switzerland, why this is not huge, because the Swiss are quite as smart. Um, Outside of like this history of neutrality, here we have complete religious neutrality. Um, there's like even me, I as a foreigner, originally foreigner, being a Swiss citizen, I do my best bring not to bring any tension into this country because of my, the past that I have, because of the provocative things that we might say. So, like in Switzerland, people are very, when it comes to dealing with these matters, they do it respectfully because they believe in coexistence. But the difference is when something is wrong, there's rule of law, order. And that's the most important thing, consequences, taking action. Yes, we have a lot of problems too these days. People do believe that despite the direct democracy, despite the people saying we do not want to have more immigrants in the country because we can't afford it. We don't even have the space. But politicians have been neglecting that. We also get to have crimes being committed by mostly those with foreign origin. But it's still, the nice thing is that people do not talk about it in a provocative manner. If they take action, they do it quietly but decisively. But there is a solution, coming back to the solution. Jay, I come from a very left-leaning background, a very globalist, someone who believed, and still there are some part of me believes in certain system, global mechanism that we have built, which is important for the economy, for prosperity. But coming from that background, I'm telling you, I wholeheartedly, knowing everything, I say it's time for immigration because I have to say it's very simple. I will not use these technical words that people from my background, from the left-leaning background particularly, come and talk about it, making it things difficult. Like, go back to the basics of human rights, right? This is a matter of the global institutions, something that came when we had these institutions. For me, put it simply, human rights is that I can have my freedom, do and wish whatever I want to be without taking somebody else's rights away. But with my rights, whatever it is, my freedom causes taking away somebody else's freedom, security, that is a breach of human rights. And what people in the West do not acknowledge and see it that right now, by inviting more refugees or allowing them, not listening to the accused, to the threat that is there, we are breaching the rights of natives. That's a complete violation of human rights. So when next time people come and discuss legal matters, we people have to understand there's a legal solution, legal response to that. Remigration is the only solution that will happen. The reason for that is, again, look at it simply. If the society has its own harmony, when we look at Switzerland, when you introduce too much of something, when it's just destabilizing it, when people don't feel their values are aligned, when they don't feel here home, after 40, 50 years of living here, even having there's a second generation, third generation, it's high time. It's the most pragmatic thing, the most realistic thing, the most respectful thing that we help these people return where they feel their values are aligned. We cannot continue living like this. Otherwise, we continue to have tensions. Not someone who's coming, let's say, from Afghanistan is happy here because they don't see their values, their culture here. Neither me, let's say I'm a Swiss person and a native, and I have my own culture, but then suddenly seeing I'm being flooded with different cultures. Any human being will feel sensitive. Any human being will feel isolated in their own land. And to me, this is like causing a lot of tensions that right now it looks not so big, even in Switzerland. But with time, we will see the impact of it. With time, when we see these tensions become more, translated into political vote, like what we see happening in New York. That's like the negative side effect of it, you see. I don't think when I look at the facts, when I look at the background of the voters, you don't have the people who built this country voting for this. Maybe there are anomalies. Maybe there are those who are really having their own problems, right? Especially left-leaning back people. But when you look at the background of the voters, you see what I'm talking about. That's very easy to change power. Just having people who have different demands, different cultures, when it becomes when you translate it to power, translate it to vote, they can easily take over a country. We're seeing the signs in Europe too. You have Mamdani in New York. We have Yusuf Hamza, I think, the Scottish guy from Middle East. He's doing the same thing. And it will be a matter of time when you see how they are spreading this kind of notion. I'm just now, right now, talking only, for instance, about Muslim Brotherhood. But we are talking about different invisible forces that is changing the harmony, damaging the harmony of Western civilization. So there is a solution, there is remigration. The more the public become aware that there are legal routes even, it doesn't have to be, civil war. Once they know their power, once they know how to deal with it the legal way, they will take action.
Yeah, and it's important. It's you have a unique voice, right? Because you came from Afghanistan, right? You left Afghanistan, you went to South Korea, and you're in Switzerland, and you're speaking out about the things that are happening from for the people that are coming from Afghanistan, for the people that are coming from the Middle East. Like you, it's very like you have a very unique perspective, and that's why I think it's important to hear from you because you, in a lot of ways, you came from the same place that these people that are coming to these countries are that U.S., UK, that are causing the problems. And the Elon talks a lot about this, the weaponization of empathy, and how that comes to bite us in a lot of ways. We're seeing that with Somalians in Minnesota. We're seeing that in the UK. It's it doesn't make things more humane to just simply to flood the system with immigrants. It's like you said, it's very inhumane to the people that already live there. It's unfair to them because they have to foot the bill, and then it's unfair to the people that you've brought because they also don't know how to assimilate, and um, are really just it creates a bad situation all around. It's not good for anybody, including the natives, including the people that you bring in, because there's a culture clash, and now they're not wanted, or whatever the case may be, because of these difficulties that are surrounding it. And so for me, it's the most humane thing is to not bring them, right? To not put them in this situation. People talk about how cruel it is to send them home and stuff like that. Well, what was cruel was inviting them. What was cruel is pretending like they were going to be welcomed, that they had this opportunity to thrive, and that's not the situation. You cannot just come and flood the system with a bunch of people that really they don't speak the language. They're culturally not assimilating. Like it's that's the most inhumane thing that you can do to people. And so yeah, we got about 200 people watching now. It's a little bit off of my normal time. I normally do it in the evening, so I appreciate everybody that's coming in here. If you could like, follow, repost the live for us, and go ahead.
Look, you mentioned very important points. I want to go back to all of them. The thing is, there will be more studies, more facts, because until now, because of the globalization era that is started a few decades ago. So the studies, the majority of anything we consider reliable, it's all coming from left-leaning people. You don't have many voices coming from the right side. I'm post-ideology. For me, it doesn't matter left, right. For me, pragmatism matter. What works for the current situation, crisis we are, and what we need to do for sustainable solution. Not that we have to make mistakes and after 10 years it goes bad, then we have to change policies. So right now, um, it looks like we have. That was something very important, Jay. Maybe you can remind me a little bit backtracking. Like
About
I mean, that's the worst thing. So there will be studies where with facts and evidence that will show bringing people from other countries, saying that we are supporting them. This is human rights. That's actually the biggest mistake. This is brain drain. You cannot help them by bringing them here. They have to stay where they are to help their countries. Nobody earned their freedom or prosperity by running away. I was prepared all my life. Like you've been mentioning, when we did the title of This is Space, you were writing the word exile. That didn't resonate with me because maybe I might be one of the few, but I came. we went abroad to get better education, to learn about the world, learn how countries work, how systems work, so I could go back serve the country. I had hardship. I had pressure for getting marriage, forced marriage. I had all those things every woman from that country have, every girl. But none of them stopped me. My intention was to come, learn, go back. The problem is in 2019, I really made a hard decision, conscious decision, which was very difficult back then, because all my life I prepared to go back serve. But I realized that wasn't my home there, my home of values. It wasn't Afghanistan. But there is if a part of me that resonate with the country, I will not be sitting here. I will not be asking anybody for support. And that's what I'm hoping my people learn from that country. If your heart is there, you go back there, you fix it. Otherwise, you have to make a decision to live in the country you are and serve this country. Prioritize it, integrate. Because otherwise, you're in the middle of nowhere. You're causing tensions. There's already a lot of ways the natives are paying the price for the bad policies of the policymakers. But at the same time, people who put one foot in Afghanistan, their heart is there, their values are aligned with the country, but they're living in the West and waiting for a Western man to take their hands again, take them back to that country, and do everything for them. That's not gonna work. So again, you see, not aside from um, this, supporting the migration of people from other countries, refugees and stuff, the fact that even the foreign aid, this is not nothing new. There has been even studies about this. Foreign aid works for certain countries that are at a certain level of development, that have when it comes to certain elements in a society, whether there's corruption or not, it works for those countries, whether it's aid, whether it's loan. But for a country like Afghanistan, foreign aid has done nothing. An LDC. Afghanistan is an LDC, least developed country. For a country like that, foreign aid had made those people more dependent. Like until Donald Trump came to power, even for me, it was a shock to see the changes. Until he started defunding certain institutions that were, promoting whatever in these third world countries. Until then, you could not really see what I'm saying right now, because after he stopped that, then you saw that these people were so dependent on free money, anything that would support their NGOs. They were so dependent, they wouldn't take any action, just wait for outsiders, foreigners to do the thing for them. When the money dropped, I remember noticing how the sentiment slowly started changing. First, there was the cycle of agony, getting angry, complaining, and then people were like, I could see them, especially the advocates in the West. They were like, we gotta, set together, all of us contribute some money to, do something. That was like a good step. This country have been corrupted with the free money, free aid that came from abroad. We made them too dependent. We paved the way for them that if things get hard, run away. You can ask that, the fact, even when I look at me, my family members, my relatives, it became a culture to immigrate, to leave the country behind. That is wrong. And what we are doing right now, someone like Donald Trump is doing, like you have many other politicians that are listening to the voices of their people. They are doing the right thing, the realistic thing. The left really has no plan for the world. As much as I can assure you, Jay, because I know I'm part of them too. I still have colleagues I communicate with back and forth. I still have some of these NGOs and institutions I check on. And all I can tell you, they're not aware. They don't know what to do. They're living in an echo chamber. They have a very different mindset. They don't understand you. They don't understand this mindset that I learned. I bothered to take time, get out of my comfort zone, understand what is happening around the world, what the people want, the changes. They don't, because the system has been like that. Nobody like to get rid of their business. It's a business. We made an institution that's functioning. There's budget coming from the governments. The secretariats of these international institutions won't bother to um, solve their own demise. Nobody wants to do that, right? So all I'm saying is we need to pay more attention to these what they call right-wing politicians. That, right now the right wing is so absurd. These terms really has no meaning. It has lost its meaning. Right, left. Um, there's a beautiful paragraph that actually describes it beautifully. Maybe you have seen that too, where you see that the people didn't go right and left, but the notion, the definition of concepts, those the situation changed. And all I'm saying is I'm hoping we will pay attention more to likes of Dominic, I forgot his last name, the guy from Poland. We have other politicians in Europe who are brave enough to say the unknown, to say the things that is a taboo, but they have a solution for their people. If you want to save the world, to start with your home. Fix your own country, save your own people. I say the same thing to the people in Afghanistan. Like some of them still have this idea of keeping the geography of this country at every cost. But I keep telling them, focus on your town, focus on your province, go fix it, save it, because you don't have a lot of time. Your children are being on daily basis indoctrinated. I was one of them under the first regime of the Taliban. Out of nowhere, having a modest, slightly modest family, I became almost an Islamist. Ideology I followed, now that I know it, was Muslim Brotherhood ideologies. I didn't even know it. But the thing is, that's happening right now in that country. Whatever it takes, these people have to go first, save your own town, your own home, then to start thinking about the whole geography. So there's a lot to say, but I don't want to confuse. Unless you have a specific question, I can help.
Yeah,
And I
well,
hope
so
to.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's good.
Well, it's so my question is, speaking out about these things, have you received pushback from Afghanis, former Afghanis, like, other immigrants from other places because, of the truth, right? So this is something that, people have a hard time hearing the truth about these things and being honest and candid about it. And you are on your social media platforms. This is where I met you in spaces talking about these things. And so talk about some of the pushback that maybe you've received from others.
I have to tell you, no, they can't. I have. I mean, I've been very active since January last year because I saw Donald Trump is coming. I knew what he's gonna do. I was concerned still about this country, Afghanistan. I knew that they really, after 4 years of studying their society, their politicians, I saw these people have no plan, no idea what's coming. So I took an active approach, rolling up my sleeves, thinking I can help them a little bit. So I became more active since then. The only group that have an issue with me is the Pashtuns of Afghanistan, the Pashtuns. Because what I say is hard. It's really hard. And I understand it. But the thing is, there should be lots of immigrants from different countries that has to be mad at what I say. But they don't, because I think they know there's a rationale behind what I say. And I'm not somebody who is just influenced by social media, teenager, a Gen Z, an alpha who have no idea of the world, don't know right and left, haven't worked with them to understand what's happening. In this situation, then you say things that are not rational. You could be defeated. You could have people just hurt you, whatever. But for me, it doesn't work. Good luck. I keep asking even my critics, come talk with me. Have a debate. I want to listen what you have got. But I hear nothing. So there is every now and then a little insult. Um, And my go-to sentence is like, no argument detected. And I think that tells them everything. So I don't get that pressure that other people get. Another thing is also, Jay, I think I'm playing safe, which is not good. I wouldn't encourage everyone. The only thing is that I have seen so much. It really takes a lot to live in two different worlds, like deep down understand both of them, to go through everything, to understand the human nature, psychology, to come to this understanding. So, like, literally, I even speak with Taliban. I speak with people that are followers of Muslim Brotherhood. Despite me, being post ideology, there's a respect in between. Some of them, even I have had Taliban who are Pashtun who don't like me what I say, but there's a respect in between. When we have a communication online, I've noticed that they respect, they listen, I listen to them. It's easy to, be provocative, get hurt by so many, but I don't like that. Um, I feel like it's important to acknowledge differences, but at the same time, I want to stay hard line. That this is the red line. This is the border you don't want to cross. I respect you, your existence. And you got to respect mine, especially in my home. Whatever you want to do, you do it in your home. I do it in my home. But when one of us gets intolerant and aggressive, then I have every right to be defensive. So for me, no, I would say I'm not afraid of it. I think I will have more, given the fact that what I do behind the scene, I will have a lot of backlash, difficulties in the future. Um, but I'm hoping that I will take time to discuss with them so that they understand why it's necessary. It's even good for those people who think it's bad for them at this stage, who see me as a enemy. In the future, they will understand that I've thought too far for their own prosperity. They will understand this eventually, Jay. Even the people that we are talking collectively about.
Right. Yeah. And, in terms of like, we spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and it's evolved a lot, right? Since the U.S. occupation, since when you lived there, to what it is now. Talk to me about, you know, it's really like I have a hard time thinking about, the US withdrawal there, because we put in a lot of sweat equity. We tried to make a lot of improvements there. I lost friends. We did a lot to try and improve Afghanistan. And then with the haphazard withdrawal under Joe Biden, it basically fell back into the hands of the Taliban. And to me, that's a setback for that country, um, because of what Afghanistan used to be, and then what it became under the Taliban, and now that it's back under Taliban control again for the most part. And so, talk to me about, where you see the country going, and the where it's at now currently. I mean, it's 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 fell right back into what it was to me in a lot of ways, and now maybe even worse off, because now they're well funded. um, we've been sending money over there, which is a problem for a lot of people here, both conservative and liberal. Can't fathom why we'd be sending $40 million a week to the Taliban, because that's not a good idea, obviously, for many reasons. But then too, now that they're back in control, where do you see the country going?
Look, Jay, the what people have to understand, because the whole time that I've been active, especially with the community from Afghanistan, I keep telling them they have a lot of anger towards the US, towards the West in general, especially when you look at the ones that are not, they haven't taken responsibility yet for their own mistakes. The most important for me, I think, is that to say anyone who's listening to this, that it's always distinguished between the policymakers, those who take action, make policies, and the common ordinary citizens, and even the soldiers. What you did, Jay, if you listen to me, to old me, what the US did in 2001, helping those who resisted, for me as a girl, a small child in that time, I think for the first time, I think the joy was so much that I still remember those days when the US came to help us, save us. So I have a huge respect when it comes to the military, when it comes to um, the patriots who thought they went to this country to serve their nation, to serve their people, for security reasons, for protecting, for maintaining peace, but then just to realize it was the policymakers, the politicians just playing. That is, when I look at throughout the last 20 years, the US made really huge mistakes, the policymakers. Something that I hear a lot from a lot of people who have gone, different countries who have gone through this kind of intervention. My wish also would have been, as much as I appreciated as a child seeing the prosperity you guys brought, like it changed my life. Maybe it wasn't nice for the bad guys. It wasn't nice for the people who were used, even if they were not bad guys, but terrorists sheltered themselves among those people and used them, They're still angry at the US. Maybe life wasn't good for them, but my life changed. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that intervention, for that support. But the US should have left right after coming there, doing the intervention they needed. Once they knew the enemy is dead, the biggest threat, and then there's an alternative who is not having problem with us, the best thing would have been just leave it there. As a Swiss, my view now today is that I shouldn't even bother interfering in other countries' affairs. Even when it comes to Afghanistan, despite it still having my ID from that country, my passport, which sometimes I look at and I'm like, I shouldn't have really kept this. I should have got rid of it long ago. I don't give myself the permission to interfere in that country's affair. I just listen to the people who live there, including family, relatives, the wider public, and then I try to reflect those voices, not my own. So the thing is, like, the policymakers should have left the country long ago, because when they didn't do it, when they sent to too long, because there were profiteers, there were people who benefited in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and the US. And that's one of the names Al Khalilzad the other day we talked about. I want the US to investigate this person more. I want the people, the patriots. I want even Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, like all these guys doing the work of Qatar, this and that. These guys have to look inside the country, look at the political infiltrators, look at what they did in the last 20 years. For instance, just one particular person in relation to Afghanistan, all the lost resources, 2 trillion you mentioned before, the lives of the soldiers, it wasn't a joke, the lives of the civilians, the public civil servants. And let's not talk about those lives lost inside that country, Afghanistan. And back then, in this 20 years, Taliban's supposed to be the enemy of the US, right? But you have that guy, Salman Khalilzad. Today, you see the real face of him. You should understand, if I was a US citizen, I would be going after this guy. Because now he shows his own face, his real face. He's doing everything to keep the Taliban there. What the Americans did not understand, you cannot have foreigners even living, even being born in another country, even being the second generation. You cannot expect everyone to have forgotten their allegiance to their native country. When it comes to certain tribalist countries, cultures, you have to understand, even if people look like me, very Western, sounds very nice, they haven't changed. They're still tribalist in their mindset. Consciously, subconsciously, they're still serving their first country. And in the case of Dalmai Khalilzad, my observation based on what I hear from the people too, and looking at his actions, his words, what I see is that this person did really ruin the US, did influence the US politics in Afghanistan, in coordination with Qatar, in coordination with those in Pakistan, which now I have a different view of Pakistan, by the way. Pakistan had to do what they had to do. I get it now. But these people are the ones who actually are behind every life lost, every mistake made, because they're neither an American patriot nor an Afghan patriot, but someone that you can say he cared for the whole country. Just an ethno-fascist person, nothing else. Someone who all he wanted to do is to have his tribe in power at the cost of everybody else's life. And something you guys have to understand, Jay, I think a lot of people still don't know it. Maybe your politicians know it. Those who were behind the design of Afghanistan hundreds of years ago, those in the UK, which maybe most of them are not even here alive, they know what happened with this country. They understand the reality, the truth about this country. Our politicians still have fear to talk about it. You have to know this, but the common people talk about it because they have nothing to lose. The Taliban, aside from external factors, external motives, like let's say the US had its own motive, Qatar had its own motive, other countries had their motive. But the reason why Taliban came twice, it's because Afghanistan is a country made up of different ethnic groups. And this country's main issue, the only issue, is ethnic conflict, nothing else. The aggressor wants to downplay it because it doesn't serve them. Anything else they say is not true. Unfortunately, it's only the Pashtuns who deny this. When you next time talk with someone from Afghanistan, as not the politicians, because they lie, they have their own prophets, and I know it after experience and working with them, I know why. But if you ask them, check their background. If they are not Pashtun, they will never tell you that. They will say, yes, it is true. If they're Pashtun, they will say, no, we have other problems, this, that. It's an ethnic challenge. Twice in history, the non-Pashtuns of Afghanistan, the majority population, they had a higher hand and they asked for social justice. They were not these people who are thinking zero-sum mindset. They believe in coexistence. They're not there to go control someone else. They don't believe and they don't like what Pashtuns have been doing throughout history with them. So twice in history they got higher hand, and twice in history the Taliban were brought. The most aggressive tribalist Pashtuns. And that's the only reality about Afghanistan, nothing else. Who did it? How? What happened? If you connect the dots, you will find out for yourself. But it's important people have to know that's an internal factor is that. The external factor is every country have their interest, and I cannot blame them. I say this the same thing to my people. You should even avoid blaming Pakistan for what they had to do. Even right now, the fact that India is working with the Taliban, don't blame them. See what you can do, what constructive action you can take. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming. We're approaching an hour. You told me you'd give me an hour, and I
My
appreciate
throat
that.
is already hurting a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want to get to your work currently and the things, your efforts that you're trying to improve the situation over there and trying to educate people. I want to talk about that because I think that, leading into that, I think that's the most important part. Where do we go from here?
The thing is, Jay, as someone coming from that country and someone who wants to guard the Western civilization, the civilization that give life to me, someone who come from very different culture, different background, lived in a corrupt country, failed governance, and coming in a society where you have self-policing civic culture. My duty is to protect my second home. That's my priority. My allegiance is to this country. And I know that this almost, when we talk about Western civilizations, it includes a lot of European countries. It includes the West. It even includes Australia. That is for me most important thing. But outside of that, what I'm doing is in my own capacity, just like promoting the values that I believe here in Switzerland, but at the same time hoping to inspire especially one particular country because that's the only thing I can do to serve my home here. I hope a lot of other foreigners from different countries who feel the US is their home, who feel Germany is their home and are in the same situation like me, those with immigrant backgrounds, origin, that they follow the same path like I do because it's possible for them. If their home is really here, they have to serve it here. If it's not, they have to all focus on their native countries, how to fix the situation there, but without introducing the tensions from those countries in the streets or in the political system of the Western countries. So something I think before going to this, it's just something I'm saying I want to wrap up this space and maybe hopefully we'll have conversation about it. What the West has to understand, the normal people, ordinary people, we're talking people to people. Forget about politicians because at the end of the day, they have to serve the people. And my left-leaning colleagues, global institutions, they have to understand populism is here to stay. It's not going to go away. We live in a different time, in a time where communication actually is in the hand of masses and where, whoever have control over communication controls the masses, and now it's in the hands of the people. So populism is here to stay. You listen to the people. You have to understand there are a few threats that's facing the Western civilization, something that needs to be protected. It is not just a terrorist threat that has been exported from other countries. We are talking about imported cultural tensions from other countries in our streets in the West. All those demonstrations that you see, all the street fights that you see, these are not our problem. These are not the normal people's problem who have been living here and making this country, building this country. Other thing is the political infiltration. I think as for the US, you guys already know it because your system is prone to that, to political infiltration from other countries. But in the future, we will see more of this, even in Switzerland. You will see that there will be fights at the political level and the government level, not that relates to the interest of this country or is not originated in this country, but has come from different opposing people from another country. Like you have, I'm a Tajik from Afghanistan. You will have a Pashtun from Afghanistan. You will have a Hazara, and it's already happening. I'm talking about just one country. Let's not talk about Somalia. Let's not talk about all other LDCs or countries that are going through war and ongoing tensions that have no ending, which is a result of the choices that those people make, result of their culture. So already you see in Australia, you see in the Netherlands, you see in the UK very much where you have Pashtuns fighting Tajiks and the other way around. There's like a competition for who takes more chair, who takes more seat, not to serve the interests of the host country, but to serve the interests of their own people. And I say this, normally someone in my, my background wouldn't talk about it. These are the truth. It has to be known, it has to be acknowledged. And it's bad. It's bad even for those people, whether it's Pashtun, it's Tajik, whatever. It's worse for the civilization, for the future of these countries, the Western civilization. We have to prevent it at all costs we can. Remigration is the only way. There are certain international conventions, including some local laws, like depending on which country we talk about, they have to be cancelled. Countries have to withdraw with them, especially the ones related to the migration. The only way we can definitely do something, bring society back to, bring the harmony back to the society is to take those measures. As for Afghanistan, what I'm doing, I think I do what my government will be doing in official capacity. If you know Switzerland, which even a lot of people in Switzerland, they say that it was so useless that all these peace missions we had in other countries. We helped Sudan for years. We tried to be there, helping them, making sit together, talk to each other, but we're back to zero. After all these decades, people are back to doing what they're good at. So they've understood that we cannot even do that. It's not intervention, it's nothing. It's just based on their needs. Someone call you to help them, to bridge them, to make peace. So I'm doing that in my informal capacity. I speak with different government members from the region in Afghanistan, that region. Um, a lot of people are shocked these days because they don't understand why Pakistan has changed its view. I'm not just the only one. There are actually lots of people, especially from the Tajiks, but I so much appreciate them because it kind of makes sense. I always thought that's my Swiss side that is like that, but I realize also that originally the civilization that I come from, Persian civilization, the teaching is about coexistence. So these people seem to be attempting to make bridges with the countries they have had for long tension. It's a taboo. It's they're facing a lot of problems, but they're doing it. And I've been encouraging them to work with Pakistan, work to start people-to-people conversation, and they're doing. It's a bottom-up approach. That's the most important thing to know. It's not like coming from outside, not coming from top down. Um, Talking with Indians. Don't wait for the Afghan Pashtuns because they have throughout history, throughout Afghanistan's history, this country just in the last 100 years changed its flag 20 times, more than 20 times. That tells you that something is not right about this country. That tells you that these people with tribalist mindset have failed to govern a country that is very diverse. So it's important for those that understand the importance of making it work, that have positive mindset, they start to work with the region, work with Pakistan, work with foreign actors, whoever who's involved have a stake in Afghanistan, even those who actually indirectly have a negative intervention, which is impacting the lives of people there. I'm helping them to communicate. And that is happening. The bridges are being made. What I can tell you for sure, the Taliban will not stay long. The US 40, $60 million, which I still don't understand if it's a contract because of Doha agreement they have to do it or what other reasons are there. I have my assumptions. I avoid talking about it because I feel like it will threaten the security of the US, but I would rather not talk about it. But the minute you withdraw, you will stop those interventions that are negative, the nature will take its place. People, if you know the society, the tensions are really there. People are very resentful. They will not let them anymore. These people will go. So any relationship with the Taliban will be unsustainable. They have chosen their own demise. They did it single-handedly. It's not just because, um, that there's a foreign pressure. There's not. The people have had it enough. It's a matter of time, even if they're going to feed themselves for a while through the taxes and everything that the economy that they're running in the country, it's not gonna last. So what I'm seeing is Afghanistan is going to take a very different shape. Every passing day matters because the people will make choices. For instance, the Pashtuns, they will make choices that is going to determine the geography of this country. They either stay on the right side of the history, or apparently the other sides looks that they're intending to go on their way. There will be a lot of changes. It could be bad and good, but I believe if we have more voices that force them to go accept coexistence, we can prevent casualty, we can prevent tragedies. Because, oh, very important thing, Jay, I don't know if you're aware, um, there's a possibility of war starting between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The politicians are not talking about it. This is the worst thing the Afghan politicians are doing. It outrages me because I feel like they're either passively sitting, waiting for the West so that things go bad and the West can do something about it and help them, or they're really incompetent and don't understand the priorities. The Afghan Pashtuns, not just the Taliban, these are based on facts, evidence, every day listening to their online communication, to their exchanges. They want to take over another country. They want Pakistan to be ruined. They want to access waters. In my mind, if you want something, you go do it legally. My biggest fear is when I look at the sentiment of Pakistan and what they're doing, that there will be a war, and I cannot blame them, but to blame the very people and the very country that I come from, because this is not okay. I understand things were not nice. I understand what the UK did in the past, the map of this country. But if the Tajiks, if the Hazaras, of the Uzbeks, everyone else living in that country made peace and accepted the other borders of Afghanistan, and they're living in harmony with the other Tajiks on the other side, with the Persians in Iran, and don't have the intention constantly to go invade that country, take their land, take their resources, why the Pashtuns cannot do this? If you look at everything bad that has been happening in Afghanistan, 20 years, why Pakistan did what Pakistan did, it's us. It was our mistake. We provoked them. Rather than choosing sustainable path, we decided to be act as proxy. We decided to harm them when we had higher hand. And at the end, this country, which is a new country, became powerful and attacked. And right now, there's another threat on the verge of happening. Despite this country already having a lot of problems, a lot of mess around the world, these politicians, rather than fixing these messes, they're keeping quiet and they're allowing these people to go fight with another country to start a new war. This is something I think in the future we have to talk about because this could be prevented. Otherwise, it's going to be a burden on the Western countries, and at the end of the day, on the taxpayers, on us. That's all I wanted to say, Jay. If that's okay, I'll call it off.
Yeah,
But I really appreciate this time and the people who are listening. If
no,
there's a
I
question they have or someone have a comment you want to read, I can spend 5 more minutes and then we can go on.
no, we've had some great comments that people have left. Not really questions. I put them up in there. You'll be able to see it in the video. I realize you're on your cell phone, so it's kind of rather small right
Yeah,
now. You'll be able to see it. We had some fantastic comments from Medi, Ange, um, Sheila K. We had some great comments in here. They've been listening and they've reposted. We have over 400 people watching right now, which this isn't off time for me, but that's actually pretty good viewership this early in the morning, especially on, you know, on this close to the holidays. So I appreciate
Holy
everybody
Night.
appreciate everybody coming and supporting too. It's a very interesting conversation. I'm the Pakistan situation opens a whole other conversation. Maybe we can get into that in the future. The I think the biggest concern there is when they think of when people think of Western borders, there's really not a border there. People come and go as they please. There's a lot of problems that happen, and I know the area well. I've been there. I spent a lot of time in that area, and that's going to be a problem for them because dealing with these asymmetric warriors that basically have learned how to exploit open borders and exploit the fact that they blend in with the local population. That's going to be a real problem for Pakistan when you're fighting a war with a country like Afghanistan. But that's a whole other conversation. We were kind of talking about the mass migration, the re-immigration, and the problems there. Whole other topic, but yeah, I appreciate you coming here, especially since you were sick. Hopefully, you have a
Appreciate.
lovely holiday. I am jealous of you. I do miss. I lived in Europe for 3 years, in Germany. I miss the Christmas markets. That's
I
something that
know. I
that's
know.
something
I
that I
know.
cherish.
I have to tell you, it's 3 years. I have my kids almost like my oldest one is 5 years old, and I haven't been able to go to the southern markets of Germany, something I would always go. And I think it has to tell you everything. I actually saw the other day, I have relatives visiting New York right now, send me pictures of trees that I've never seen so huge, so beautiful. So I have to say the same thing that I feel jealous. You guys have events like that, the way you guys are celebrating. But definitely, the beautiful thing about Christmas events and markets here are that they're very small, but they're very detailed, very charismatic. That sadly, I'm not taking the risk. If things are not so bad, I'm a person, I believe, um, I'm not driven by fear. I'm not driven by anything. If there's a threat, I just prefer to go act and fix it. But just I'm also conscious that I'm a mom. I can take the threat for myself, but not for my kids. So I have to be very careful. But I'm wishing everyone also a very lovely holy night. I wish everyone celebrates, even the people who don't, know that they understand how much culture, whether religion, every little details, morals, values that you guys have been practicing in the Western countries. I keep saying this to my Swiss colleagues too, that it matters so much that this has to continue because those values made your civilization. Those values give you the economy, give you the security, the prosperity that you have. Replace it with something else. Get rid of that, like, the woke culture, the woke religion in the last few decades. Then you see the imbalance in the society, and that's how you're going downward. So I'm hoping everyone takes their time, even if they don't like Christmas, they go celebrate it. And I will talk to you very soon again, Jay. Thank you so much. And thanks to the audience for listening early morning.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Follow Shabnam at SSNACIMEIENTO
That
on
was
X.
difficult.
Yeah,
I was
and follow her on X. She is tagged in the main post here on X. You will also be able to see it on YouTube and Rumble, so that you can follow her here on X. Fantastic speaker. She does fantastic spaces. Really great conversation. If you want to hear more from her, I recommend it. So I appreciate you coming here. Tell your family thank you. Merry Christmas to you all, and thanks for doing the show today.
Thank you so much, Jay. Bye for now.
I appreciate it. Bye. All right, there you have it. Fantastic speaker talking about Afghanistan. Really just enjoy listening to her talk about it because she's very based and has a really good perspective. Later today, I will go through the comments and those that followed and on Rumble and YouTube, and I will pick a winner for the free giveaway today. But I appreciate y'all watching today. We have over 400 people in here this morning, early in the morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in here today and listen to us. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and thank you for watching the show today. Have a good day.